Would I take a healthy Jack Hughes over Auston Matthews? Maybe not, but Mike Rupp certainly would. We are deep in the offseason, ladies and gentlemen. We desperately need hockey back. There's a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed him. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play announcer, Devils Wire Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. We are deep in the offseason, ladies and gentlemen. How do I know that? You got people like Mike Rupp speaking absolute blasphemy on NHL Network, saying that he would take a healthy Jack Hughes over Auston Matthews. The Auston Matthews in Toronto. The Auston Matthews who is an MVP winner. The Auston Matthews who is a 7-time All-Star. That Auston Matthews. Look, I love Jack Hughes. He's definitely a superstar in this league, but there's levels to this. I think we need to get to the regular season ASAP because I think people are getting bored. Then in the second segment, I will answer a question that was asked by my boss over at Pucks and Pitchforks, Nick Villano. If I told you someone on the Devils would add 15 goals to their 2024-2025 season totals, who would you say is most important? Jack Hughes, while we're on the subject of Jack Hughes, Dawson Mercer, Timo Meier, or rookie Arseny Gritsuyuk? I talked about Gritsuyuk a lot in the previous episode with Jersey Joe. Check it out if you haven't done so already. And then in the third and final segment, Shimo Nemec has been getting in the gym. He is entering the final year of his entry-level contract, and I think he wants to make a statement, and he wants to see his name out of the trade rumor mill. Okay, let's start with Mike Rupp. Like I said, Mike Rupp made a controversial take on NHL Network saying that he would take a healthy Jack Hughes over Auston Matthews. I will play you the clip and then give you guys my thoughts. Take a listen.
Go. Give us your top 10.
My top 6 is the same as what the Network's one was. This is where it gets interesting for me. I got Braden Point, Jack Hughes, then Auston Matthews, and then Mark Scheifele. So I know a lot of people are going to not agree with that, but you can make your own list.
Why wouldn't they agree with that? Why wouldn't they agree with it?
And
why are you defending it?
I still think Auston needs to have his moment. He needs his moment, and that doesn't mean that Jack Hughes has had his moment. I think Jack Hughes, a healthy Jack Hughes, I would take him over Auston Matthews.
All right. Okay, as a Devils content creator, as someone who has had the pleasure of interviewing Jack Hughes, respectfully, no, I would not take a healthy Jack Hughes over Auston Matthews. Jack being healthy, that's a question mark in of itself because Jack has had season-ending shoulder surgery back-to-back years. Auston Matthews, I don't think I need to say anything else, but here's his resume for any of you who don't know, but I'm sure a lot of you already do know. He's a 7-time All-Star, a 3-time All-Star captain. He won the Calder. He is a Ted Lindsay Award winner. He won the Hart in 2022, and he has led the league in goal scoring 3 times. Oh, and to add on to that, he is the captain for the Toronto Maple Leafs, one of the most prestigious teams of all time. They're like the New York Yankees or the Dallas Cowboys. You have a lot of expectations coming into the season. They have past championship pedigree. It's been a while since they've hoisted up a trophy or hung a banner, but you still expect nothing less of greatness, but they just disappoint you as the year progresses, with all due respect. That's what the Toronto Maple Leafs are. And I think Auston Matthews has handled himself well in Toronto media as well. So, no, I would not take a healthy Jack Hughes over Auston Matthews. Now, this past season, both Matthews and Hughes have put up similar numbers. Matthews appeared in 67 games and he had 78 points. Jack Hughes appeared in 62 games and he had 70 points. I'm not just siding with Auston just because he and I share the same last name. I'm siding with him because the facts are there. Jack Hughes, while he's a multi-time All-Star, while he's a superstar in this league, he is definitely one of the faces for the Devils organization. He's very young in his career. He'll continue to grow and develop, albeit I think he should have done so already, but that's a debate for another time. Saying that you would take Jack Hughes over Auston Matthews, that's a terrible take. Even former Devil Brian Boyle agrees that that's not a good take. I don't know what Mike Rupp is thinking. He has a history of this. I get that Mike Rupp likes to stir the pot a little bit. He was the one who created the narrative that Brady Tkachuk could be traded to the Devils, only for Brady Tkachuk to appear on this network with my colleagues over at Locked On Senators and say the trade discussions, the trade rumors were blatantly false. I even talked with Ryan Novozinski about it a couple years ago, and I said, hey, why aren't you writing an article about Tkachuk possibly coming to the Devils? And he said there was no merit to it. Mike Rupp has a history of that. I mean this with all due respect. Auston Matthews, he's a few levels higher than Jack Hughes. And I saw it firsthand during Four Nations. Prior to Four Nations, I asked Auston his thoughts on not only Jack, but his brother Quinn, and he had nothing but positive things to say. He said the respect is mutual. All three players are American-born. All three of them have made a nice name for themselves in the league. But when looking at Four Nations, Jack Hughes, is it safe to say that he didn't really contribute all that much? I'm not saying he had the worst performance in the world, but he didn't really do anything that stood out for me. I guess you could say his defense improved, but I think we expect a little bit more from Jack. Whereas for Auston, his fingerprints were all over the tournament. I saw it during the championship game against Team Canada. And that's a best-on-best tournament. And the fact that Auston Matthews showed out, made himself stick out from the crowd. He was the captain for Team USA. But for Jack, while he's a good player, while I get that he's not the main focal point for Team USA, he didn't really stick out all that much. So I can't think of any scenario in which you would pick Jack Hughes over Auston Matthews. The only possible scenario I see is that Auston Matthews is out for the remainder of the season. So Jack is healthy. Put in Jack. That's the only scenario I see best fits. So once again, as a Devils content creator, as someone who has interviewed Jack Hughes, I would not take him over Auston Matthews. And I think Jack would say that himself, that Auston is a few levels higher than him. I guess we're just deep into the offseason and we have to have these silly discussions, but those are just my thoughts. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment down below. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. All right, we're going to switch gears momentarily, but before we do, let me tell you guys about Game Time. College football is back. Forks up, baby. Go ASU, go Sam Levitt, go Jordan Tyson. But honestly, there's nothing better than the energy of tailgates and being in the stands with your fellow fans. Trust me, Mountain America Stadium is beautiful in Tempe. The only downside, trying to get tickets, endless queues, hidden fees, and prices that jump at checkout. That's why I use Game Time. The app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. I've actually used Game Time before to purchase myself some NBA and MLB tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Okay, let's look at a question that was asked by my boss over at Pucks and Pitchforks, Nick Villano. If I told you someone on the Devils would add 15 goals to their 2024-2025 totals, who would you say is most important? And the options were Jack Hughes, Dawson Mercer, Timo Meier, or Arsenij Griciuk. Over 500 people voted, and 40% said Timo Meier. The second highest was Dawson Mercer at 28%. Third was Jack Hughes, 18%. And Arsenij Griciuk was 14%. I can understand Arsenij and Jack being in the bottom of that voting. I would flip them a little bit because Jack's going to get his points either way. I would also flip Dawson and Timo, and here's why. Here's why I think that would benefit Dawson Mercer a lot more. So Mercer finished the 2024-2025 season with 19 goals. He had 36 total points. I think that benefits Dawson Mercer a lot more because we've been talking about Mercer not really repeating the same success that he saw a few seasons ago when the Devils won 52 games. We also talk about the bottom six scoring or their lack of depth scoring. And I've said it ad nauseum on this show. I think Mercer has been given a bad hand because Mercer does his job the best way he can. He plays all 82 games, and you never have to question his work ethic. The issue is the product on the ice. Yeah, Mercer's not really going to go into the dirty areas. He's not really going to put his body on the line. He admitted that to me during exit interviews. But I will say Mercer is not a center, or he can play center, but he even says that he would much rather play winger. But given the current structure of the Devils roster, he can't play center. He has to be the third line center to lead the way, unless the Devils want to put Cody Glass on the third line center and Dawson on a wing. But I don't think that's really going to happen. But digressing a little bit, if Mercer added 15 more goals to his total, then I don't think the Devils get shut out as much as they did this past season, because one of their Achilles heels was their depth scoring. Outside of Dawson Mercer, nobody else contributed. I think we need to start giving Dawson a little more credit for carrying the bottom six as much as he can. In fact, I think someone said that in one of their hot takes on social media when I asked for your guys' spiciest Devils hot takes. And somebody said that if Mercer was on the top six, if he was paired alongside Jack Hughes or Nico Hischier, you might see his scoring increase. And I said, I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's a cold take, if anything. I think that's facts. So Mercer adding 15 more goals, not only does that help out the bottom six tremendously, not only does that prevent the Devils from getting shut out less than they did, but it also sort of replaces the goal production of Tyler Toffoli, because that hole still has not been filled ever since Toffoli was traded. So honestly, I think that benefits Dawson Mercer a little bit more if he were to add 15 more goals to his season totals. Close second for me would be Timo Meier, because Timo Meier elevated his game in March. He stepped up to the plate big time when Jack went down with his injury. But Meier finished this season with 26 goals, third most on the Devils, just below Jack, who had 27, and leading the way was Nico with 35. I don't need Meier to be a 40-goal scorer. He doesn't need to repeat that same success he saw a few seasons ago, because that's not his role. I need him to be a big power forward coming down the lane, and Meier does so many other things, like creating good chances for the Devils whenever he's out on the rink, as proven by Daniel Amoya of the Hockey Writers in one of his articles. I think Meier has been good as advertised. Now, if you want to argue his contract, that's one thing, but I don't think Meier's production is all that bad to the point where he needs to add 15 more goals for everyone to be happy, because that's not his role. That's not what he's going to be asked to do. I talked about it with Ace over at Running with the Devils. I'm on the side of the fence of I'm satisfied with Meier's production. Now, Do I wish that he could get it going a little earlier in the season and not just in March? Yes, but better late than never. I don't think Meyer had that bad of a season to the point where he needed to add 15 more goals for everyone to be more satisfied. I think that could have benefited Dawson Mercer, and I think Mercer would have gotten the respect that he deserves. Arseny Griciuk, the reason I'm going to say him third is because this is what the Devils are banking on. This is why I don't think they pursued a big-time top 6 forward, is because I think they are confident that Arseny Griciuk can contribute at a high level. I talked about it with Jersey Joe in the previous episode. Now, Jersey Joe believes that Arseny Griciuk can get 35 goals in his rookie year. Truthfully, I disagree. I talked about it with Jersey Joe in the prior episode. That means he would score more goals in his rookie year than, say, Macklin Celebrini, Connor Bedard. It goes on. That he would have a magical year, and barring another rookie putting up those types of numbers, he will win the Calder. Someone like Connor McDavid, his first year in the NHL, he appeared in 45 games. He put up 16 goals. And then his second year, he played in all 82 games, and he had 30 goals. So I have my doubts that Griciuk could match that sort of production if playing in most, if not all, the games. But we'll see what happens. A lot of people believe in Griciuk, but if he were to score 15 goals this season and on top of that have anywhere from 35 to 40 points, I'd be okay with that, because that means he is putting up some solid productive numbers. And for Jack Hughes, even if Jack's not scoring, he'll do what Jesper Bratt does, which is he'll rack up the assists. So he'll get his points either way. I don't think you need to add 15 goals to Jack Hughes's numbers to make him better. I think he'll find other ways to contribute. So if I were to add 15 goals to somebody's totals from this past season, it would definitely be Dawson Mercer, because that could have helped out the bottom 6 a lot more. It could have given the Devils more wiggle room to work with. It could carry a lot of the load that some players were lacking, including Nathan Bashin, Curtis Lazar, Curtis McDermott, Eric Holla. They weren't really scoring like that. So if Mercer had just 10 more goals, I think that could have helped out the Devils exponentially. I think Timo had a pretty good year, stepped up his game big time. In March, Arseny Griciuk is a rookie this upcoming season. If he scores 15 goals, I'll be perfectly content with that. Right now, he has zeros across the board when it comes to NHL totals. We'll see what he does in Game 1 and then see how he finishes in Game 82. Jack Hughes, already great numbers. Just needs to stay healthy. I think that's the big thing. All right, we're going to close out today's episode with Shimon Nemec. But before we continue, let me tell you guys something. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out, and I hope you are enjoying Locked On Devils. Okay, let's close out today's episode on a strong note. Literally. Ryan Novozinsky of NJ.com published on his social media Shimon Nemec being in the gym and getting a workout in, and he is pumping iron right now. He is getting stronger. He's trying to put on more muscle. Nemec doesn't want to be in the AHL. He hated it last season, and he showed out during the playoffs. He really elevated his game, and he was a big reason why the Devils did not get swept by the Hurricanes. I am rather impressed that Nemec is putting his head down, putting in the work, and trying to elevate his game to the next level. But I can't help but think about Jack and Luke. A lot of people are clowning on the Hughes brothers because they're like, wait a minute, where are the Hughes brothers workouts? Why aren't they putting on more muscle? Why aren't they getting stronger? Look, we don't know what the Hughes brothers are doing during the offseason. I don't think it's really responsible to speculate. Look, if you don't want to post your workout during the summer, that's totally on you. And for people who are saying like Jack is more focused on just looking pretty and not really working out and putting on more muscle, let me just say this. Jack is not a very social person. We all know this. You see him in interviews. He has that attitude that he'd rather be anywhere else than talking to a microphone with a camera pointed at him. I have even spoken to some mutual acquaintances that played with Jack when he was still living in Michigan. Jack is a very moderate person. He keeps his circle very small, and he only publishes things on social media like 3 times a year. Beginning of the season, middle of the season, end of the season. Maybe you'll get a summer post here or there, but Jack doesn't really post anything to social media. He doesn't post anything to his Instagram stories, and his Twitter account is pretty much inactive. I don't think he's opened it in a few years. Maybe he opens it just to see what people are saying about him, but he hasn't tweeted anything out. He hasn't replied to anyone. Unless he's doing like an ad or for Chipotle or something, you're not really going to see Jack publish stuff to social media. So that's kind of on brand for him to not really post him working out. He's a professional athlete. He's getting paid millions of dollars. He probably has top-notch trainers, nutritionists. You never know. You can't just speculate saying that Jack is not posting his workouts, so he's not getting stronger. Kudos to Shimo Nemec. I see that he is trying to put on more muscle, and I see that he's working out. Great. But make no mistake, Shimo Nemec is not the only Devils player in the gym working out. You never know. Now, if Tom Fitzgerald comes out and says that Jack wasn't in the weight room, he was more doing like cardio workouts, like running or things like that, then you can make your own conclusions. Then you can jump and say like, oh, Jack's not taking this seriously. He's not working out. But let's not bash on the Hughes brothers. Like I said, they're not really social people. They keep to themselves. I've seen it in interviews, but Jack loves interacting with his teammates. He just keeps his circle small, and that goes for social media as well. Plus, the social media version of someone is not the real version of someone. Like, you're only going to post the best pictures of yourself. You're only going to post the happiest times. You're not going to post a picture of yourself in bed eating ice cream because you're sad of some news. Let's be real here. So take social media posts from everyone with a grain of salt, because the social media version of someone is always the best version of someone. It's not real. Like, you guys sometimes take it with a grain of salt, and this is coming from someone who's also a content creator. So let's ease back a little bit, jumping to conclusions saying that Jack's not working out, he's not putting on muscle. Also, I'm not a workout guru, or I'm not a trainer or anything like that, but one thing I do know is that people's body types are different. You got people trying to gain weight. Like, I know Brandon Ingram of the NBA. He's real thin. He says that he tries to eat 6 meals a day to put on weight, but his body just burns it. People's body types are different. Now, I will leave you with this. I really hope Jack has been working out, trying to put on more muscle, so that way he can protect himself a little bit better, so that way he's not enduring another season-ending injury. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt. If he doesn't want to publish on social media, he doesn't have to publish his workouts every single day, like morning workout, afternoon workout, before dinner workout. It's social media, guys. Let's not jump to it. And plus, like, if he posted it once, does that mean he only went to the gym once? No. So take that with a grain of salt. That's what I'm going to leave you with. But let me know your thoughts. What do you think of Mike Rupp's comments? Jack Hughes over Auston Matthews? And also, who would you like to see score more goals this upcoming season? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on a podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X Page app at TreyMatt4 or the show's X Page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day in New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening once again.